We're going to talk about kind of proportions of those rasas that are more natural in a meal. And if you look at the first page in your book, there's something called Rasa Virya Vipaka. Rasa Virya Vipaka. And what this is rasa means taste. It also means essence or appreciation or to feel, to connect. And it's basically connected to your sensory organs, the senses. And it's that first initial hit of the tongue, but it also is the first initial smell of the olfactory nose. So we smell pungent. We don't just taste pungent. We smell astringent. We don't just taste astringent. In fact, taste is easy if you just pay attention. You know, it's easy when you pay attention. Smell is a little bit more what we don't like pay attention to all the time. You know, it's a little bit more to trust the smell. But this is going to be this whole main thing. And taste, going back to tongue, you can't break down certain things without amylase in your mouth. You have an enzyme that lives in your mouth called amylase. And it allows you to taste. If you have really low amylase, you're actually not going to crave food. You're going to lose your appetite. You're going to lose your, you know, I always call my spice class Spice Up Your Life, because people lose their spice when they don't want spice. You know what I mean? And it's this amylase, this enzyme in the mouth that actually, if you don't have amylase in your mouth, you first can't taste all these taste factors. You can't taste them. You can't really taste them. Not to mention, you can't develop a healthy appetite. If you have appetite, you have metabolism, which is why a lot of kaphas don't eat. They don't eat. Nobody looks at a kapha who has some excess on them and thinks they don't eat. Ever. But it's very true. Because they just lose. Their metabolism's low and they lose their spice for life and they just kind of whatever. You know, and that's the kids who are all mac and cheese, mac and cheese, mac and cheese. You know, they've lost their enzymatic amylase. And that's where we get totally excited about our food and we appreciate our food and we taste it. And we really start building a metabolic rate from it. Not to mention, you cannot break down a carbohydrate in your body without breaking it down first in your mouth. I don't know if you guys know this, but if you don't have amylase developed in your mouth, you cannot break a carbohydrate. It has precursor functions in the mouth that start the digestive process of gluten. So you cannot break down gluten if you don't have amylase. Now you're probably already saying, how do I have amylase? Probiotics develop amylase. Apple cider vinegar, kraut, a good healthy miso, meaning non-soy. I'm not a fan of soy.
I know.
Oh, you can get a dookie bean miso. You can get garbanzo miso.
Oh,
You can get brown rice miso.
Oh.
Yeah. And anything fermented, first off, is probiotic based, raw ferments. And these probiotics are how the amylase stays in the mouth and follows through to the stomach. So probiotics helps the enzyme stay in your mouth, and it helps it to digest and kind of follow through in the stomach. So the other place that we develop amylase is through the stimulation of the taste buds, which, by the way, is the closest thing to stimulating the brainstem. The skeletal muscular base of your tongue is the closest thing linked to your brainstem, and your limbic brain, where your memories and your emotions are stored, is the closest thing linked to your olfactory, your nose. So your tongue is connected to brainstem, your nose is connected to limbic brain. Brainstem is like, oh, I have an idea. Limbic brain is, ooh, I remember that. I have a memory. These are very, you can see how this could become patterns. right? You can see how food could become patterns just from the fact that these two things are so related to the needs of your brain, or what your brain starts thinking it needs. Then you have virya. Virya is the word of energy. And what this means in energy is basically, is the food, well, it's the potency of the food. It's considered the potential of the food. And it is what action they believe, and it's true, it's even proven in chemistry with food. Basically, every food has an action from its chemistry. And that action is either of hot or cold. So every single food we have, and some are easy. Chiles, what are they?
Hot.
Mint.
Cool.
You know what I mean? Like some are so
Yo.
duh. You know what I mean? You taste it, you smell it, it's so obvious. But what about all the in-betweens that are like, that's not as hot as this, or that's only kind of hot. That's warm. That's kind of cold. That's even more cold. That's really cold. So virya, the potency is in being able to see where are you in the spectrum of hot and cold. And this is a primary question that I brought up week 1, right? Anything you're going to go do, you're going to go and grab some food. Am I hot or am I cold? So as you're asking yourself symptomatically, am I hot or am I cold? Is the emotional hot or cold? Is it physical issue? Is it physical imbalance, symptom, hot or cold? And then that's when I said to you, if you're cold, you want soup. If you're hot, you want a salad. You do the opposite. And so you would want to know what the virya of the food is. Next week, I actually give you a pretty thick book. Like, it's pretty thick, I'll tell you why. I give you my whole nutrition handout because I have gone through and through vitamins and minerals and the chemistry of each food. I've actually broken it down into whether it's vata plus pitta plus or minus, or kapha plus or minus, meaning does it raise that dosha, does it lower that dosha, and is it hot or cold? And sometimes it'll say warming because it's down the middle. And that way, when you go shopping, see, this week will be all about finding your spices and learning to like taste all these different rasas, all about the spices. But next week, I'm going to give you that food list. And every time you go to the grocery store for the next couple weeks, all you got to do is take that food packet with you. And you're like staring at the cauliflower, and you're like, let me look up cauliflower. You know what I mean? And then you're staring at the leeks. You're like, let me look up leeks. And then all of a sudden, you're like, I don't need to look that up. I already know. That's a red food. It's probably warming. That's a green food. That's probably cooling. Oh no, I'm wrong. That mustard green looks cooling. Guess what? It's hot when I tasted it. Now I changed my mind because my taste tells me. So you can look at the food and tell it's virya. You can taste the food and see it's virya. You can smell the food and tell it's virya. So you may not, eventually I would hope you don't even need that list from me because you should be able to figure it out yourself. It tells you all kinds of symptoms, just like our body. It tells you, you know. Most things like think of rosemary. Rosemary is tight and dry, and there's multiple little leaves, and it's very upright. You know? And it is very expectorating. It's like, get out. I gotta move this mucus out. And it's very focused in its job. That plant is like, focus. And then you look at sage. Now there's many types of sage. Let's think about like cooking sage just for a moment. And the sage is a really broad, pretty broad leaf. It's a little purpley, showing that it has, like anything purple is antioxidant. We'll talk about colors next time, next class. And if I forget, you can remind me because the color plays out. It kind of plays out here in virya though, I have to say, because it tells you hot or cold. Anything purple, anything blue, cold. Anti-inflammatory, antioxidant. That sage even tells you it's got antioxidants and are good for lung and oxygenation because it's got that purpley base. It also tells you that it's more mild and it's not going to be so, let me help you out, Rosemary. I love Rosemary, but you know, she's definitely like, we're doing this. Yeah, you know what I mean? Where sage is like, it's kind of like that big cough of tongue we talked about last week, where it's like, hello, Papa. And that sage is kind of like, hi, look at me, I'm a little fluffy. You know, it's like soft to the texture. You know, it bruises really easy. Rosemary's like, you can throw me in that bag, I don't care. Right? You go home and you don't even have little leaves down at the bottom of your bag. And it was like rumbling around in your car. And it's like, hi, I came home with you. I'm ready. Right? Sage, you get it home and it's all like bruised and it turns a little brown. And it's like, I'm fragile and I got squished by that coconut milk over there. Why'd you put me next to a hard can? Ah. And you're like, oh, it's really upset. You know, it's tender. It's tender, you know? And as good as sage is for saying, no, I'm done, it is definitely not a harsh plant in the way that it does that. It's just sort of like, no, I'm done. I'm sorry, mucus, you're going to need to go. And it's more long term. It's like, I'll keep telling you you need to go. I will tell you again tomorrow. I will tell you again tomorrow. And it will follow through and it will get the job done. But if I need to move mucus right now because I got to go teach and I'm all like this or something, I need Rosemary. I'm like, help me now. But if I want to move my mucus long term, I maybe need sage because I need help regularly. So I'm hoping I'm giving you just an example of like if you really paid attention to what that plant looked like, what color is it? Yellow and orange, all riboflavin. You got all your, you also have like your beta carotene. And it's going to be all the things that are about like better hearing, better sight. They're the color of the sun. They're about everything being a little bit more expressed, which is what riboflavin and that's also what, you know, beta carotene does for you. Vitamin K. If you have a red food, you're looking at a lot of vitamin C. Chiles are so good for vitamin C. It's not fair to say they're not good. When you're sick, you need them. They're high immunity. Vitamin C is immunity. Red says, I can handle it. But if you're all, let me handle it, you don't need more of, I can handle it. You know, so it matches Pitta too much. You need that Pitta. You're looking at red, you're saying, Pitta friend, help me. I'm cold, or I'm not finding my warrior, or my blood isn't moving.